Greetings, YouTube. Russia, 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 Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. What is going on? What do I think about it? I've had a number of people ask me, which side are you on? You seem to support Ukraine sometimes, but then you have a lot of sympathy for the Russians, and where are your loyalties? I wish I could give a simple answer to that. There really is no simple answer when you think like I do, and when you pay as much attention as I do. That's not to say that I'm like completely dialed in and I have any answers. The fact that I'm making this video is to basically demonstrate that I don't really have any answers. And here's why. I have done an immense amount of research on the Russia-Ukraine situation. I keep up with it literally every day. It's the first thing I do when I get up is I check and see what's going on militarily, politically, etc. On both sides. I belong to Telegram. I subscribe to Telegram channels from both Russia and Ukraine. And I've said on other videos about this subject that, if anybody wants to see what's going on, literally see what's happening on the ground, you better have a strong stomach if you're going to go to Telegram and look at what is uploaded on the GoPro cameras on the soldiers on both sides. Because nothing is restricted on Telegram. There's no restrictions. They can show anything, and they do show everything that your mind can conceive, and then things that you've never thought of, no matter how weird and sick you might think you are. I rarely fail to get shocked, at least once a week, by the level of just sadness and just it stumps me to even describe it. I certainly have seen more than my share of death up close and personal, and suffering for that matter. But what's going on the battlefields over there is unbelievable, because we're seeing it from a bird's eye view with cameras that have the capability of zooming in high definition, so you can watch people's expressions as they sit there with no arms and no legs, and they're still alive and can't even delete themselves while hornets are stinging them. That's one of the videos. A freaking guy, the drone bomb stirred up literally a hornet's nest. So that combined with the just crazy amount of self-deleting going on the Russian side. I mean, I must see 5 or 6 a day, and if you see, it's like cockroaches. If you see one, there's 1,000 you don't see. Well, when you see guys doing what I see them doing to themselves, that's just the ones that the drones happen to capture at that moment. But back to the original subject. I am well aware of the corruption. It's my dog yawning. I am fully aware of the corruption and just the nastiness that has taken place within the Ukrainian government. And as much as I want to judge that, and by the way, and I understand the ties between the Biden the crime family and Ukraine, and I understand the political motivations for this. We have to support Ukraine. I get that. It's harder and harder for me to judge countries with corrupt governments the older I get, the more I realize how corrupt my own government is. And I say that with all sadness. But as I've said many times, truth is supreme. The whole world can insist that the sky is purple. And if I see it blue, I'm going to tell you it's blue. Truth is truth. And the truth is, Ukraine is far from the only corrupt government. Maddie, stop. So, sorry about that. Now, you look at Russia and what Putin's doing. Look, Putin, I was supportive of Putin, believe it or not, and I took a lot of shit for that in the beginning. Because when this thing, I'm going back into like 2014, You know, we made deals and signed treaties about not expanding NATO, and yet NATO kept expanding. And, you know, I was trying to look at it from an objective perspective, thinking, hey, man, every leader of every country has an obligation to put their country first, their country's needs and safety first. Ours is not doing that at all, as I sit here, but with the open borders and all that bullshit. No, Maddie. So, she's dropping a tennis ball on me so I can play. You gotta wait. So yeah, at first I thought, okay, you know, I'm not a guy that elects presidents here or votes for presidents here based on whether or not they're nice people. You know, that's why I'm a Trump supporter. I don't give a shit how many pussies he's grabbed. I don't give a shit if he's a womanizer. I don't care if he has done things in the past. I don't care if he cusses. I don't care if he is obnoxious. I vote for people based on what they can do as the president of a country, of my country. What can they do for our civilization, for our society? And if they're the best person for the job, they're going to get my vote. And I don't care what title they use, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. It just so happens that the Democrats have literally plummeted into psychosis. You know, Democrats, as I always say, and I know I'm jumping all over the place. Welcome to my channel. Democrats, you know, while they used to be just irritating, like a mosquito buzzing around you, are no longer irritating. They're dangerous. They're dangerous to civilization here in America. And that whole leftist woke bullshit logic is spreading all over the Western world. And you see the results. Life isn't getting better, and it's not going to get any better until this whole cancer of the woke is cured. So that's how I feel about that. So Putin, you know, initially I thought, you know what, he's taking care of his country, man. That's what he should be doing. You know, who the fuck we wouldn't want Russian missiles sitting on our border with Mexico or Canada. Look what happened when Kennedy was president and they tried to do that shit. The Soviet Union tried to put missiles into Cuba. You know, we came very close to a full-blown nuclear war. Not as close as we probably are right now, but pretty damn close. But then I started really paying attention to Putin and looking at his actions in terms of what he is trying to accomplish with this invasion into Ukraine. And see, that's the thing. That's the word that gets it murky for me. You have two countries. And I don't care that one of them used to be under the umbrella of the Soviet Union. That's like, you know, slavery was fucked up in America. It's not relevant today. I didn't have nothing to do with it. I wasn't there. None of my relatives were there. So it's a historical blunder. Every civilization has them. So, you know, I grew up in California. That's where I'm from. That used to be Mexico. Texas used to be Mexico. It's not anymore. Things change. Every country expands, and the weaker neighbor ends up losing territory. That is just the way of humanity. It's not my issue. So Ukraine is a sovereign country, and Maddie, and the minute the Russians cross a border of a sovereign country with military equipment and armed people whose sole goal is to kill people in that sovereign country, I can't support that. There's no fucking way I could support that. So even if I loved Putin, which I don't, I think he's a small-minded little dude that is destroying his own country. Personally, my belief is that from the time he was a young man, and this is just my thought, he has longed for the glory days of the Soviet Union, and he has never lost that dream of reacquiring what was lost. And, you know, that's sad for the Russian people because they got really close to becoming a semi-free country. And look what's happening now. I don't know if you guys pay attention to it, but, you know, as I sit here today, YouTube is being shut down. Instagram is considered a terrorist outlet. Google is no longer allowed. If you literally go outside anywhere in Moscow and you hold up a blank piece of white paper, you get 7 years in prison. Just look this shit up. That's what kind of fucking freedom is that? You know, what kind of oppression is that? If you say the wrong thing, if you call the special military operation a war, you go to prison. If you said something on Facebook or on YouTube, uh, which they're shutting down YouTube as I make this video, you know, it's people in Russia, you can see all of this stuff because people are using VPNs, and they'll show you what happens when you get onto YouTube. It's just blank screens. They are phasing it out because they don't want their citizens to be aware of what's happening in the world. That's oppression, man. That is a dictatorship. That is bullshit. And there's nothing that's going to convince me that that's okay. You know, freedom is important and it's worth dying for, in my opinion. So there is no freedom in Russia. And for all these people that are just so fucking pro-Russia, you got to ask yourself, if you're a Western liberal lunatic with blue hair and you're triple vaxxed and, you know, you're out there, you know, free Palestine, yeah, I expect you to be that dumb, to be, you know, singing the songs, you know, of pro-Russia. The Russian government is atrocious to its people. And they're all suffering for it because every fucking dime that they make goes into the military industrial complex. And by the way, Russia doesn't produce anything. Russia, it may be the biggest or one of the biggest countries on the planet, but what do they actually fucking make? They don't make cars. Their cars are fucking made in China. They don't make any technological items. They don't make computer chips. They have a lot of natural resources. They sell gas, oil. Yeah, they can bring the oil out of the ground. Go look at, see how they refine it. They can't fucking refine it without Western technology. So they sell the raw oil all over the world and let them refine it. The Russians don't have a lot to offer in terms of bringing things back. And so what has he done? He's isolated that country because they depended on things coming in. So, you know, look, if you're a big Russian fan, you know, and this, I'm talking about the government here, not the Russian people. I'll get into that in a second. If you're a big Russian fan, ask yourself, who is Putin's friends or alleged friends? So he's trying to be friends with North Korea, China, and Iran, and Cuba. Okay, China is no fucking fan of Russia. The Chinese are super smart people. And they're Maddie, stop that, goddamn! I'm trying to make a video. Take you to the fucking dog pound. So China literally exploits the fact that Russia comes over there and Putin begs for a friend, and he needs, you know, he's wanted in every other fucking country in the world, so he has to be seen with other leaders. But they literally belittle him. If you can just go look at some of the meetings he's had. You know, he crawled to North Korea and he's begging for ammunition. The second greatest military in the world is using fucked up 5 million-year-old North Korean artillery rounds that every third one blows up and kills the crew. I mean, that's pretty fucked up. But, you know, the people that he wants us, ask yourself this. Somebody whose only friends are the people I just mentioned, the countries I just mentioned, like 3 or 4, something's wrong in that picture. And if you don't see it, man, are you willfully ignorant, or maybe you're on the spectrum? I don't know. But that ain't right. So you got Ukraine, whose government has a long history of corruption, and you've got Russia, who is being controlled by a little fucking tiny little dictator. Well, why can't you pick a side, Mike? Because my concerns are with the people, okay? The Ukrainian people, which, by the way, my bloodline goes right to Ukraine, ancestors. But the Ukrainian people are good fucking people. They are good people. You know, I invite you while you're still able to. There are a number of channels that I watch every day of Ukrainians that talk about life in Russia. I'm sorry, my dog's fucking me up. About daily life in Ukraine. So you can see what's happening in Ukraine, whether it's in Kyiv or in some of the villages. There's one lady whose husband was a pilot that got killed. Very sad story, but she's out there, she's struggling, but she makes these unbelievably interesting vlogs. And there are many people in Russia who do the same thing, although their they're worried now because if they don't have a VPN, you're not going to see it, and pretty soon they're going to close out down the VPNs in Russia. So then there's a whole nother segment of Russians who have fled Russia to avoid being a part of this insane attack on their neighbor. You know, one of them that I watch religiously, the channel is Inside Russia, and this guy, his name is Konstantin. One of the smartest guys you'll hear on the internet. One of the smartest guys on any subject. I mean, he knows about engineering. He knows about economy. He's just a very smart married man, father of, I think for sure one little boy. I think he's like 7 or 8 years old. But you know, they're living in one of the neighboring countries of my brain's locking up here. What the hell is it? I can't think of it. Kazakhstan or some shit. But you know, and he makes videos, I think every day. It's actually called Inside Russia, and you should check him out if you have any interest, and watch go back on his list where he was vlogging while in Russia. He was vlogging long before he ever had to flee the country. You know, he talks about the last time he had a McDonald's burger before that got, you know, the sanctions hit. He does a tour of the Kremlin, all this stuff. I mean, he loves his country. You know, and then his government basically turned against him and turned into psychopaths, and he had to flee because he doesn't want to end up going over there killing innocent people. He used to go to Ukraine on business all the time. They, you know, they're neighbors. He did work in that area. There's another guy called Sanctioned Ivan, a young guy who, him and his girlfriend and 2 cats fled to the Philippines. Are they in Philippines or Thailand? I think they're in the Philippines. Yeah. Sanctioned Ivan, a great channel with a very interesting young dude. What's cool about him was his channel originally was him buying cars, and he's you know, like every other young guy, he loves cars and everything, but it's morphing into more of a political channel regarding Russia. And I just commented on his channel yesterday. It's so refreshing to see this guy, young guy, who is so aware of what's happening in the world. And I look at so many in our country, his age, that just scroll through TikToks, and if you ask them, you know, what country the Jordan River's in, their nose will start bleeding. They don't know shit about anything, you know, but they have all but Trump's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. You know, he's a rapist. He's a criminal. He was convicted. He belongs in prison. But they can't answer any detailed questions. So there's that, and a bunch of others. I mean, I wish I could list them. I should have wrote this down, but I don't prepare for these videos. I just turn on the camera and start talking. So, you know, the Russian people are in a world of shit right now. You have different segments of society in Russia, like all countries. You know, you've got the older people, like we're called boomers here. I don't know what they call them over there, but same age as me. And those people, for the most part, watch Russian TV, which is all state controlled. And so they have a whole different perspective. They don't know what's really going on. And so they just think it's the evil West that's causing them to not have certain groceries and prices to be going up and gas not being available and all this other bullshit. They don't know how to use the internet. Even before they started locking it down. So they're a little bit ignorant. Then you've got some younger Russians who just want to live, man. They have dreams like everybody else. These people are not bad people. They're just not. I don't dislike Russian people at all. It's just like every other society that turns to shit. It starts at the top and works its way down. And, you know, the same is happening in this country. You know, I'll be doing a video soon on the upcoming elections here. The theme of that video is, it doesn't matter who wins or what happens. We got a world of shit coming. I mean, if Trump wins, America's going to turn to shit because the blue-haired fucking triple vax people are going to go fucking crazy. And if he loses, the fucking people that love the Constitution and love the country are going to go crazy. So, you know, hopefully Americans are preparing for that. I know I am. But yeah, this is a long explanation for a very simple answer. I have to Occam's razor this whole thing when it comes down to who I support. And I make it simple. And the simple reality is there are two countries with a border. One country has crossed that border with weapons to kill people and take land. Those people are wrong. That country, that, as sad as I feel for the Russians I see getting devastated, Ukrainians have changed the entire method of combat in many ways. They are going to be a force to reckon with. And look, I'm not stupid. I know the Ukrainians love America right now because we're funding everything. But I also have lived long enough to realize that in 10 years or 20 years, the Ukrainians could turn against us like so many other countries. Look, who the fuck was helping Russia, the Soviet Union after World War II? You know, many countries that we have helped and rebuilt and rescued turn against us once they get powerful. So, brace yourselves for that, young people. When you're my age, Ukraine may be the big fucking problem because that's just how it works. Where everybody loves the American flag when money's flowing out of America. But man, if you turn off that spigot, now all of a sudden we're the fucking assholes. So that irritates me too. But look, I don't want to see Ukraine lose this war. They're outnumbered, they're outgunned, they're out-financed. But what they do have is they've got a strong fighting spirit. And that's what happens when the country that is attacked is always going to fight harder than the country that's attacking it. They've got more to lose. This is their home. And they have every right to defend it. And I don't think there should be any restrictions whatsoever in terms of Western weapons being used in Russia. Yesterday, I was happy as could be when I saw American, not Bradleys, but, I probably had a stroke. I feel like I had a stroke. What are these fucking things called? Strikers. The American strikers that went into, now I can't remember the name of the town. They crossed the border and they went into Russia. Starts with an R. But they went across the border and, they brought the fight to the Russians. And look, I don't want to see innocent Russian people die, but it made me happy that Russia is getting a taste of what it feels like. Look, if they want to fucking fight, then let's fight in their neighborhood. That's what I would think if I'm Ukrainian. I'm like, hey, why wait till you come here? Let's go across the border and start breaking your shit. Because the Ukrainian people are all suffering because of this crap in terms of loss of power, no security, air raids every freaking hour, people getting killed, innocent people getting killed, good people getting killed. I mean, the soldiers getting killed. It's bullshit, man. Russia needs to pull its ass out of Ukraine because this whole thing about we're in there looking for Nazis is a fucking lie. Whether you pro-Russian people want to believe it or not, yeah, there's Nazis sympathizers in Ukraine, just like there are in America, and there probably are in Mexico, and probably Kathmandu. But, go check out some of the channels where you see the Russian prisoners interviewed by Ukrainian reporters, and it's all translated. And that's one of the questions they ask: how many Nazis have you seen? That's Russian propaganda 101. We're going to save the world. We're going to get rid of the Nazis in Ukraine. That's horseshit. Putin wanted territory. That's what he wants. And that's the whole reason that listen, I don't know if you're aware of the number. Nobody knows for sure the number of losses on the Russian side. But the verifiable numbers are ridiculous. I mean, I think July 30th, it was over 1,300 in just that one day. And then the next day it was about 1,700. These are daily numbers, man, that have been going on for years. And I don't know how the fuck any country can sustain those kind of losses. I really don't. When Russia fought in Afghanistan for 10 years, one of the main reasons they pulled out of Afghanistan was because the mothers back home got tired of the amount of sons that were coming home in body bags. Well, the numbers in the last 2 years from Ukraine far exceed whatever came out of their fight in Afghanistan. The difference is there's a total blockage. the Russians, for the most part, are leaving their dead on the battlefield. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the pictures of human skeletons wearing their uniforms, just laying there. And the prisoners talk about that. All of them talk about that. If you're wounded, that's why so many of them off themselves. There's nobody coming to get you. There's nobody coming to rescue you. And for every body that comes back, the government has to pay out the family members. So it's cheaper is leave them over there and just say, hey man, we don't know where they're at. Maybe they're still alive. So, if the Russian civilian population started to really digest and understand the amount of men that are being lost over there, maybe they would say enough's enough. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like they're just pretending that nothing is going on, and they're going to suffer a big loss at the end of this. I'm talking about the Russian civilian population. Their rights are being restricted, and when rights are gone, they don't come back. They don't come back unless there's a revolution. Once you lose rights, say goodbye. They're not coming back. So, that's my feeling on it, man. If I have to pick a side, I'm gonna pick Ukraine because they have nobody has any business going into any country and attacking. Well, what about you guys? You went to Afghanistan, you went to Iraq. I didn't go to Afghanistan, I didn't go to Iraq, and I have my own opinions on all of that shit, and they're probably not what you would expect. But right now, I'm dealing with what's happening today. I don't want to live in the historical past in terms of, that precludes me because my country did something 10 years ago. I can't have an opinion on what somebody else's country's doing today. That's just manipulation and horse shit. But anyways, I hope this video made sense. You never know with me, man. But I got a dog that wants me to go throw a ball, and that's what I'm going to do. In the meantime, you guys stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time. Airborne 80, I'm out.